Praise Hashem, we start the second parak of Kiddushin, Daf Mem Aleph, Aish Mekadesh Bo Ubishlucha. And the Gemara is going to try to figure out why it says Bo and then Bishlucha. Of course, if Bishlucha, then you don't need Bo. Aish Mekadesh is Bo Ubishlucha. Same question should apply to Hashliach. Aish Mekadesh is Bito, Shinara Bo Ubishlucha. So the Av is Mekadesh, he's Mekabel Kiddushin for his daughter. She doesn't have Ratzon, and it says here Kshi Nara, so we're talking about a Nara, and certainly a Katana. Rashi says a Katana goes without saying that if the father's Makabel Kiddushin on behalf of his daughter is a Katana, for sure the Kiddushin is valid. And the Mishnah only mentions Nara Agav Urcha, sort of. Derech Urcha. Because a person should not marry off his daughter when she's a katan, as we'll see in the Gemara. Gemara asks, why did the Mishnah have to bother saying bo? If he could send the shliach, certainly he could be mekadem the Kiddushin himself. And the Gemara answers, Rav Yosef mitzvah bo Yosef v'shlucha. Any mitzvah should be embellished by doing it yourself. That gives it a first grade upgraded status rather than send someone else to do the mitzvah for you. These were Amoraim, great Amoraim, who personally prepared for Shabbos. And Rav Safra would make sure to take the fish and scorch it l'chavod Shabbos. And Rava would salt the fish before Shabbos, not relying on any maidservants or anything of the like. Do it yourself, because mitzvah bo yosem mishlucha. It could be possible that by sending a shliach he violated Isur. Kid Rav Yehuda Marav Tiyom Rav Yehuda Marav also liol sheikadishes isha ad shir ena. Person should not send a shliach who hasn't even seen the woman, because sheva yirabah davar maguna v'tizgana olav. Perhaps he'll find and discover to his dismay that she has some sort of davar maguna, some sort of blemish of some sort. Rachmana v'havtal recha kamocha. The Torah says you have to love a person. Now he's going to come to chas v'sholem, the opposite. If he can mekadesh her himself, then he should mekadesh her himself and not use a shliach, because it's a mitzvah that he should see her, and she shouldn't be mizgana. Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef said that mitzvah bo Yosef be v'shlucho, which means it's only a mitzvah, there's no lav, no iser. We should attach the statement of Rav Yosef to the sefer of the Mishnah. Rav Yosef mitzvah bo Yosef v'shlucha. Ki hada Rav Safra machar reisha, Rava machar shibut. Aval b'ha isura less bekir. So basically, there's a fundamental difference here that the Gemara is making between a husband or a chassan who's getting married and the kala who's getting married. With the chassan, we're afraid of shevet tiskana olav. But with regard to a kala, we say, Reish Lakish, tav l'meisa tadut, better to be married than not to be married at all. Rashi says a moshel, shanoshim omros al baal, kol dehu shu tov lasheves and shnei gufim misheves almon. Even if the husband is not something that you want to, shall we say, put him on a poster, and he's a koldahu. I don't know, the language of Rashi is very strange, koldahu. But nevertheless, he's better as a husband, at least, than not being married at all. And therefore, we assume under under all circumstances that she would be happy, even if she sent a shliach, she'd be happy with the marriage. The Mishnah says, "Ish mekadosh es bito kshinara in kshiktana delo." And what does that mean? Certainly, a father could be mekabel kiddushin for his daughter's ziktana if he could be mekabel kiddushin for a nara. But rather, it's not advisable, to say the least. The Omer of Yudom Mishpah, Itay Rebbe, also the Adam Shekadish is Bitok Shiktana Ad Shetigdal. It's a prohibition, even though the Torah allows it, to marry off your daughter as a Ketana till she becomes mature. V'tomar v'ploni ani rotza, and she'll specify the person that she wants to marry. Now Rashi, Tibur Amaskal do Shnai Vikasha Hachanami Gabi Dida Ika Isura Kiyov Kiddushin L'Shlucha V'lo Chazila. Rashi is asking, even in the case of a woman, she should also be in violation of an Isur if she sends a Shliach. And Rashi says, "Einochinami umiu maslisa b'dida ka'amar tehi mekadsha bo b'shlucha hilkach hadetana v'le mitzvah ashmeinan mitzvah ashmeinan." Well, apparently, what bothers Rashi here in the Dima Maskal do is in the Sefer when she appoints a shliach, the Baal is not going to see her because he's going to give the Kiddushin over to a shliach. So again, there's still an Isur involved because he's not going to see her, and there's a violation possibly of V'ahavta l'reich kamocha if he finds a davar meguna. So Rashi says, "Einochinami." It's really true that even in the Sefer there's a violation of the Isur, but she doesn't violate the Isur. As far as her is concerned, when she sends a shliach, there's no violation of an Isur. There's only a violation of an Isur when he gives the get either through his shliach or to her shliach, and he doesn't see her. So when the Mishnah says, ba mitzvah, it's coming to tell you that it's nice if she's mekayim the mitzvah herself, but it's not an Isur. The Isur is only as far as he is concerned. And the Reish is where he appoints shliach, and therefore, by definition, is a violation of the Isur. Of course, there's a long discussion in the Ran we're not going to get into now. What's her mitzvah? That the Mishnah says, mitzvah ba yosef v'shlucha, l'chora piri v'rivya, and perhaps Kiddushin itself is only obligatory on him, on the male members of Klal Yisrael, not on the female members, because ain't darker shalisha lichbosh. But the Ran has this whole thing about her being Messiah him, and that itself is a kiyuma mitzvah. In any event, ha'ish mekadosh pitok shinara kishehi nara in kishiktana lo. So the implication of our mission is that a father could receive Kiddushin for his daughter who's a nara, but why not a ketana, kolshke, we say. But the answer is, he is enjoined from marrying off his daughter who's a ketana shetigdal until she matures, v'tomar, and she could say, beploni ani rotza. This is the one I want to marry. So that to marry off your daughter before she's even capable and mature enough to decide who she wants to be married to, that, according to Rav Yehuda Rav, is a violation of an Isur. Shlichus minolam. More wants to know what's the source in the Torah for shlichus. The Sanya we learned in a brisa, and the brisa is going to interpret the pasuk in Dvarim Chav Dalid in the Parsha of Kiddushin. It says there, "Ki yikach ish ishu bola v'hoyim lo timtza chen beinam kimotz v'ader v'zdav v'kos lo sefer kris minos v'shilcha mi beiso." And the Gemara is saying in the name of this brisa that it could have said v'shilach. Had it said v'shilach mi beiso, then we would have understood malamid shehu osashlich. But since it says v'shilcha, we derive malamid shehi osashliach. And then v'shalach v'shilcha, malamid shashaliach osashliach. The shliach himself could appoint another shliach. And all this, as we said before, is in the parsha of Kiddushin. Now, it seems that according to Tosfos Rid and also the Shita L'Nadilami, Ein Shliach HaIsha Osa Shliach Klal. Only the Shliach HaBaal could appoint another Shliach. The Shliach HaIsha would be together Mili, and Mili Lo Mimser and L'Shlichus. Now, we have to mention that it says in this drasha that the shilach it could have said the girsha, and instead it says the shilach. And then on top we have the hey in the word v'shilach v'shilcha. So we say the following: v'shilach malamid shehu osa shliach. The Baal can give the get to a shliach and have the shliach transmit the get to the isha. Now, furthermore, we have the hey at the end of the v'shilach, v'shilcha, and that teaches us that even she could send the shliach to receive her get. And then the brisa darshans the next pasuk, which says, "Because of sefer kris v'nasa b'yelav v'shilcha mi beiso." The first pasuk in Dvarim Chav Dalid was pasuk Aleph. Now we're up to pasuk Gimel. And once again, we're being medayik from the pasuk. It doesn't say the girsha, but rather the shilach and the shilcha with an extra hey. And that's going to teach us that even the shliach could appoint a shliach. As we said before, according to some Rishonim, it means that the Baal shliach can transmit the get over to a second shliach, but in the case of an isha, we'll point to the shliach. Her shliach doesn't have to get in his hands, and therefore becomes mili, and mili lo mimser and l'shlichus. Effective Gemara Ashkan Gerish, but for Kiddushin minol, and Amish is talking about Kiddushin. V'chi tamen the Olaf mi Gerish, and let's derive Kiddushin from Gerish in the famous Hekesh of Havayli Yitzia. Effective Gemara Yesh Lidchos. We can deflect this because Mala Gerishin Sheken Yeshna Bal Karcha. The Baal could be Megarish Zisha against her will. There's no Das Kinyan on her part. So even if she refuses to get to accept the get, the Baal could just simply throw the get in her tachotza, and she's Meguresha. So therefore, the Torah was Machadish a din of Shlichus in Gerishin. But in Kiddushin, perhaps Shlichus could only be effective in something that has an easy way of creating a chalos without even rotzon or isha. So the chalos in Gerushin is like snap of the finger. She doesn't have to agree to the Gerushin. They'll give the get to a Baal Korcha. But in the case of Kiddushin, where you need a Ratzon, then maybe Shlichus and Kiddushin is not Chal, unless you have the Ratzon of both him and her. So the Gemara answers, Amar Krov Yatsa, Makish Havaya Yitzia, Ma Yitzia Mashish Shliach, Af Havaya Nami Mashish. So Yitzia means Gerushin, and Havaya means Kiddushin. And just like Gerushin can be effectuated through a Shliach, which means the Baal and the Isha each could respectively create a Shliach, so too in the case of Kiddushin. So the Gemara asks, what do we do with the mission, the fourth parak of Trumas? Omer l'shluchot say Torah, Torah kedas Baal Bais, many of them das Baal Bais, Torah beinanis echad mechambishim. So a man sends a shliach to be mafresh a truma, meaning truma gedola from his payroll. So he didn't tell him how much truma he should be mafresh. But the Raisa, it's chita achas poteres sakri. But midrabana we have Beinidis and we have Ayin Yofa, Ayin Ra. So it's either, let's say, 1/50, which is Beinidis, 1/40, which is Ayin Tova, maybe 1/60 would be Ayin Ra. And the Shliach should be estimate what the das of the Balabais is. Does he usually give Ayin Ra, Ayin Yofa? And if he doesn't know, just give him Beinidis, which is 1/50. I should mention before we move over to Mem Aleph and Beis that there's an opinion in the Rishonim, I'll tell you in a minute who it is, that a Shliach Kiddushin cannot make a Shliach. Even though we said in Gerushin a Shliach can appoint a Shliach, but not in Kiddushin. And that's the opinion of HaKadosh Miradosh, which is quoted in the Mordechai, that Shlichus and Kiddushin is considered Mili Lo Memser L'Shlichus. And the question is, why is this Mili? And the Baal is giving over Lomazog and Kesef or Shtar over to the Shliach. Why can't the Shliach appoint another Shliach?